like outside your window? Is it sunny? Perhaps it's raining. You never know, it might be snowing. And have you seen any animals today? You may have a pet, you may have a cat or a rabbit or a fish. You might have been out and seen some dogs, looked up into the sky and seen some birds. And where do you live? Are you in the town or in the countryside? All these many different places, wherever you are, whatever the weather, whatever animals or things that you can see, God has made them all. And this is the story from the beginning of the Bible. Right at the beginning, it might be the biggest book that you've ever seen, but it's always a good place to start at the beginning. And this story is the story of how the world was made, the story of creation. And it's taken from the illustrated Treasury of Bible Stories. It's retold by Vic Parker and it's published by Miles Kelly. The creation of the world. In the beginning, God lived in darkness. There was nothing else except for a vast ocean that lay beneath. Then God had an idea. "Let there be light," he said. And mysteriously, there was. God liked the brightness. He enjoyed it for a while and then called the darkness back for another turn. That was the very first day and night. When God lit up the second day, he had another idea. "I want a roof to arch over everything way up high," he said, and all at once there was one. Then he parted the ocean, scooped up half of the water and poured it out onto the roof. The swirling patterns that formed above were beautiful, and God gave the roof a special name, the sky. God looked down at the remaining water boiling and bubbling below. "Move aside so the land can show through," he ordered, and it did. The land rose up and the water swirled around it. God was very pleased and decided to call them Earth and Sea. But he thought that the land looked too bare. God imagined grass and flowers and bushes and trees. Before the third day ended, they were growing all over the earth. On day number 4, God created the sky. In it, he hung a blazing hot light called the sun, a pale cold light called the moon, and millions of burning twinkling stars. Then he sat them all moving around each way in another that would mark out the passing of the days, nights, seasons and years. Next, God looked over his creation and decided that he wanted things to live in it. He spent the 5th day imagining all sorts of creatures, ones that floated, some that swam and dived in the water, and that soared, hovered and buzzed in the air. Suddenly the sea was filled with fish and sea creatures, and the air was busy with birds and insects. On the 6th day, God imagined creatures that galloped, hopped and slithered, creatures with fur, scales and shells, and with claws, hooves and horns, creatures that barked, hissed, howled and grunted. And all at once the earth was alive with all kinds of animals. Last of all, God took a handful of earth and modelled it into a figure that looked just like him. He bent down and breathed into the figure's nostrils. It shivered, blinked, and came alive. And God looked at him. It was the first man, called Adam. God quickly realised that the man would be lonely and all on his own, so he sent him into a deep sleep while he made him a companion, a friend. God gently took out some of the man's ribs and healed up the wound. Then he shaped the rib into another similar figure, the first woman, whom he called Eve. Finally, God brought Eve to life, then woke up Adam and introduced them to each other. God watched his 2 humans with delight as they spoke and got to know each other. God was so thrilled with them that he put them in charge of all the other living things that he had made. He even planted a beautiful garden, especially for Adam and Eve, and he called this garden Eden. At last, God sat back and looked at the world he had created. He had used every colour, shape and texture, and every size, sound and scent that he could think of. God was very pleased with everything and decided that he had done enough. He spent the seventh day relaxing after all his efforts. God ordered from then on, every seventh day, which became our Sunday, should be a special day of rest in memory of when he had completed his wonderful work. And that is the story of how the world was made, and it's taken from the book of Genesis, chapters 1 and 2. So whenever you're in doubt of God being around us, just open your eyes, open your ears, open your nose, and take in all the wonders of the world around you.